Hey everyone, my name is Keandre Carrasco and I am a co-founder of Direct Access Ministry.
And my name is Daniel Fernandez, and I am also a co-founder of Direct Access Ministries. This video is a proper introduction to understand our ministry and what our logo represents. The reason this ministry was created was because we understood that there was a need that needed to be fulfilled. A ministry that is providing proper education and proper representation of Christ and His mission. When we both sat down to understand what we needed in this ministry, we decided that we should call it Direct Access because we wanted our name to clearly be understood and the message to be clearly relayed to those who are listening and viewing, which is Christ, our direct access. And we took this from the chapter in John 14:6, where he says, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." Here we can clearly understand that Jesus connects us to the Father, giving us victory over sin and death, which is true life physically and spiritually. Now, to speak about the logo, as you can see in the logo, we decided to take off the two E's and substitute it with a ladder, because we wanted to give reference to Jacob's dream in Genesis chapter 28, where he sees the angels of heaven descending and ascending the throne of God to earth. Here we can clearly understand that Christ is that ladder. And in our lives, Christ is also that ladder, giving us hope and confidence of victory. And as each step of faith that we take with Him, He will transform us to be more like Him.
To understand our ministry, we will be answering this in 3 questions. Who is our ministry for? Why is our ministry needed? And what will our ministry be provided?
Now for the first question, who is our ministry for? Our ministry is solely dedicated to everyone, but more specifically for those who cannot spiritually discern the signs of the times and present truth. Now for our second question, why is our ministry needed? The reason our ministry is needed is because we have understood that in this spiritual war, our offensive and defensive tactics are either not being properly implemented and allowing people to be lost, hurt, and misguided. We want to provide people with the proper equipment on their personal journey towards Christ, allowing them to become more independent of this world and more spiritually dependent on Christ. As we see this world's history unfold before us and prophecies become true, it is important for us to practice our faith like Noah and his family actively, and less like Lot and his family, which lingered when they both knew what was to come. Now for our last question, what will our ministry be providing? I will allow my good friend and co-founder to answer you this question.
What will our ministry be provided? To understand this question, we'll be looking at our motto, our body, God's law, united, based off of Joshua chapter 1. In verse 7, we understand our body, where it says, "Be strong and courageous." But how do we obtain this strength and courage? First, through Christ, because through Him anything is possible. And as we come to Him, He will show us the way we must live. One of these points is the health message. The health message does not only focus on the things we eat and the way we eat, but it also focuses on the way we live our lives, giving a complete visual that our bodies are the temple of the Holy Spirit. And that's why we want to give attention to the preservation of health, physically, spiritually, and emotionally, since it draws a better communication with God. The next point of our motto, God's law. In the beginning part of the verse 8 of Joshua chapter 1, it says, "Do not let the book of the law depart from thy mouths." Some of these laws, we find them in Exodus 20, where we see the 10 commandments. But we must remember that all of these laws and all of these commands that we find fall under the command to love, being kept through faith in Him. Like Christ says in Matthew 22, "The greatest commandment out of all of these is love God with your mind, your soul, and your heart. And the second is like it, love your neighbor as yourselves." All these laws, in a simpler perspective, is us denying self and pushing us towards seeking and building a relationship with God. Like Jesus says, "If you love me, keep my commandments." The last point of our motto, which brings together everything our ministry is providing, is united, a unity. In the ending part of verse 8 of Joshua chapter 1, it says, "And meditate on this law day and night." As we come to Christ, our daily communion will unify us with Him and with each other, putting on love, the bond of perfection, as the Apostle Paul states in Colossians.
This video was made to provide you with the fundamental information of our ministry, understanding our body, God's law, and how it is all united. As we strive in this battle of faith, remember, it is not we who live, but Christ who lives in us. So let's keep directing
Our mind,
to Christ.
our access.